Okay, yeah, we don't care about this. All right, untap land source or bounce land off the top. Hello and welcome, guys. We are here for match 1 with a fresh new league. This time, we're continuing some work that I started on Valakut Awakening in Primeval Titan decks. This time, Field of the Dead is no longer legal, and we're trying to take advantage of the fact that Primeval Titan is arbitrarily powerful on its own to make sure that we have every single piece of the combo that we need together, trying to get an amulet at least in play before we get our Titan in play, and always have access to the bounce land that we're looking for, easily be able to find access to our sideboard cards, of which we have a few changes as well. One exposes in the main board we can dig for with our Valakut Awakening as well. Just a very powerful effect. For those of you who don't know the card, on the backside, it's an enter the battlefield tapped red land, which is always a welcome in a deck that wants to play a billion extra lands like Amulet. But the front side is where the more powerful aspect of the card is, and it's a 3-mana instant. Put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many plus 1. So, oh, you're missing a Dryad, so you can kill your opponent with Valakut? Well, Valakut Awakening. Send your entire hand back, draw 4, 5, 6 new cards, depending on how many you started with in hand, and it does replace itself as it is plus 1. Very powerful. I've always been very impressed by this, and even after Field of the Dead is banned, I am intending on testing this one out. I think that it could be extremely powerful. And it also fixes for red. I have in the past tested things like Fire Spout or other red cards like I could see Fry or a Braid or something like that in the sideboard. However, we're not really going with that today. Instead, we are seeing the debut of a card that I have never played before on the channel, but I did mention it last week. Guttural Response is a hybrid green-red instant that counters any target blue instant spell. This will be great against the Aether Gusts and Cryptic Commands and Remands and Gifts Ungiven of the world. This is literally here only for control, and that's why it's here. But it has a very strong home here on our sideboard with 3 copies. In addition, we are playing the full 4 copies of Engineered Explosives. If you look online right now, you'll see the meta is comprised of very early aggressive decks like Hammer Time, like the Prowess decks, where explosives on 1 can be very potent, like Humans, Death Shadow, all these various decks that are reliant on early creatures, and explosives happens to be very good against those strategies. So it's kind of, this is our package against control, this is our package against the aggro decks of the world. We're also playing one Obstinate Baloth to have a bit of a life buffer against our opponents. That is, if we're not just Primeval Titan searching for Radiant Fountain and a bounce land to get maximum life value, of course. We are also playing 3 copies of Dismember for those creature combo matchups, any matchup involving Arbor Elf as well, things along those lines. And here we're playing a second copy of Force of Vigor. This is specifically so that we don't just auto-lose to Blood Moon. And in a deck with Valakut Awakening, which you can cast through Blood Moon, thankfully, it'll be very easy to find either a Force of Vigor or a basic Forest. And yeah, I mean, we're just going to find our powerful sideboard cards or exactly what we need with our Valakut Awakenings, and that is the gist of it. I will see you guys in Game 1. Alright, it is time for the first match to be underway. I'm excited. I love casting some Valakut Awakenings. I don't know about you. If you've never cast the card, then you probably don't know what it's like. So hopefully you can experience that vicariously through this video. And if you are impressed by it, then go ahead and pick up a couple copies. They're only like 50 cents on Magic Online, and give it a whirl yourself. I didn't mention it before, we're also playing a third Talaria West for Chaining Titan purposes. And this is a hand that could use a Simic Growth Chamber, so hopefully we'll find one of those off of our stirrings. We do have turn 1 Amulet, and we have a number of mana sources here. On the draw as well, I think I'm willing to keep this. It's a little sketch, but hopefully it'll work out. And if we top deck a Valakut Awakening, then we'll be able to fix for what we need pretty easily. Get rid of some of these extra one-ofs like Slayer Stronghold and Bajuka Bog that may or may not even be relevant against our opponent, for something a little more relevant. Turn 1 Utopia Sprawl off of Foothills. Well, we are most likely facing a Blood Moon deck, so there's that. So I guess what we want to do here is try to Stirrings for a basic land, perhaps? We can always do that later. I don't know if our Amulet's even going to matter if our opponent's just about to slam Blood Moon, so we'll Stirrings here. No basic land. Valakut West Cavern. I guess it's just Talari West. I mean, Cavern gives us another untapped source, but I don't know how relevant that is. I'm gonna take the T-West in the order of these guys and hope our opponent doesn't just slam a Blood Moon on us. Not much we can do about Blood Moon in game 1, for sure. No Blood Moon, seemingly. And we do find a Growth Chamber, that's great news. Play out this Amulet. And Talari West, I do suppose. We can transmute our Talari West in hand by playing Growth Chamber this upcoming turn. Or maybe even preemptively play Explosives on 3 so that we don't get destroyed by Blood Moon if our opponent does top deck it. That seems like a relevant play. Bloodbright Elf. No Blood Moon, no Blood Moon, no Blood Moon. Seasoned Pyromancer was the card they revealed. Don't really know what just happened. Did they accidentally click through it or something? I don't know what happened. I thought they would have cast this. But anyways, I think we don't need to get too hasty on the transmute here. I think I'd rather just go ahead and get Explosives into play. So let's bog our opponent, getting our tap land out of the way. And play Explosives on 3 preemptively. This way we're insulated from Blood Moon going into the future, as Blood Moon is the thing that we most likely lose to here. Pass it back. Our opponent can clock us with their Bloodbraid Elf all they like. I'm going to go ahead and close out this Seasoned Pyromancer that somehow didn't end up getting cast. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. Bolt us. Arbor Elf. Combat. Okay. This is fine. This is fine. I'd also take like a Dryad or something here. We even have Radiant Fountain to get a little bit of value. Stop ourselves from dying too quick to these 3/2 beats. Stirrings. I mean, that one's pretty free to cast here, I think. Sure. No longer interested in picking up basic lands. Second Amulet seems good to me. In the order of those ones, here comes the Amulet. We're going to want to unyield our Amulet triggers. I think we want to pick up our Growth Chamber and leave it in hand here so that we can cast Titan this upcoming turn. But that said, we still do want to play out our Growth Chamber so we can transmute the Talari West that's in hand. So that's all fine and good. Transmute for Summoner's Pact. Pass it back, opponent. What you got? You're about to get Titaned. We can swing for 20 with our Titan, so our opponent is currently dead on board to a Titan. Seasoned Pyromancer from hand. Not really going to do it. Even if our opponent had a Blood Moon here, we could pay 2, crack Explosives, play Growth Chamber. No, I guess that would put us 1 mana short, so... Ooh, you know what, though? We actually can't haste our Titan thanks to the fact that we have this Stronghold in hand. We might, however, be able to get 2 bounce lands, transmute a Talari West, play Dryad, play Stronghold from hand, and still be able to go off that way. I think that probably works. Alright, let's not draw Vesuva or Sunhome, because that would make things even more complicated when they don't need to be that complicated. Let's just draw a Dryad here to make it easy so we don't even have to transmute for it. That's what we're looking for here. Down to 8 life. Definitely bringing in Force of Vigors for this matchup. Looking at you, Utopia Sprawl, but also Blood Moon. How about the 3rd Talari West? Well, that's the opposite of making things less complicated. Let's go ahead and throw this Growth Chamber into play. We'll untap. Float. Untap. Float. We'll leave the Growth Chamber in play, I do suppose. Let's Pact. For Titan. We'll cast Titan, leaving blue floating, I suppose. Actually, it makes sense to leave green floating to cast Dryad. I don't think it's going to be a problem, though. Yeah, let's leave the blue floating. We'll yield this one. Yep. Here we want to get Garrison and Growth Chamber, and this should allow us to haste our Titan here. So, after getting Dryad, of course. I haven't done any math on this. I'm just assuming that it works out. I think that's a safe assumption. That was 8 mana, so 3 transmute down to 5 mana, 3 more, leave 2 mana floating. Yeah, so we definitely have enough to Dryad here. We'll pick up our Bog and pick up our Snow Forest, I suppose. We'll transmute here using 1 red and make sure we leave red and white floating at the end of the sequence. Pact for Dryad. Cast Dryad. Alright. Stronghold for turn. Haste Titan. La-di-da. Go to combat. Attack. Yep. So, let's see. If we get Sunhome for double strike, that'd be 16. So it's not quite lethal. If we get double Valakut here, that's going to be 12 damage plus the 8 is lethal. If they double block, I think it's fine to just go ahead and get Valakuts here. We do have to pay for double Summoner's Pact. Should be fine with the Dryad in play as long as we don't lose our Dryad. Okay, I think I'm getting double Valakut here. Actually, we don't have another land drop. We can pop explosives on 3. So we double strike. That double strike doesn't win. Double Valakut, pop explosives is 12 damage. And then our opponent can only block 1 of the 8 coming their way. So that's 20. Yeah, so we actually do have lethal here with popping explosives anyways. We might have lethal regardless. Let's save these targets upstairs. Amulet. 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 Always yes. Always yes. Always yield. Untap. Untap. Float. Float. Untap. Untap. 5. So let's see. They can block. They can absorb 3 of this damage and take exactly 5. I think we can just allow them to block here. Sure. Alright. They concede. So we did have the lethal line here. Good sideboarding. Against our opponent, we're going to want all the explosives in the world. Beast Within. Reclamation Sage. Force of Vigor. Dismembers. This is a lot of cards, actually, now I'm looking at it, but maybe we don't need this many explosives in this matchup. I don't know, though. Being able to blow up turn 1 Sprawls or Arbor Elves with explosives is probably not as good on the draw. Since on the play, we can lead on turn 1 explosives, then they play their turn, and then we untap with explosives on 1 ready to blow up. I don't know, though. Turn 1 Pact. Bog is out. Cavern is out. Stirrings helps us find basic lands, so I like that. Razor can be out. Maybe Beast Within is not fantastic here. I don't know, I just want any and everything that can hit Blood Moon, though, to be honest. We can trim... Actually, Awakening's good here, letting us try to find our Force of Vigor or basic lands through Blood Moon. 1 Azusa can go. Another Pact, even, maybe? We can Valakut Awakening to find our Titan, so we don't need that many Summoner's Pacts. And perhaps we could even trim a Talari West. I think that's fine. It's not a matchup where we need to chain Titans. Alright, let's just cut Azusa entirely. Dryad does the job. Maybe 1 Stirring... Maybe 1 Amulet, actually. Amulet doesn't do much against our opponent's Blood Moons, so... Sure. As long as we get a Titan into play, then we'll probably be fine. I don't know, maybe trimming an Amulet is wrong. Let me know in the comments what you think. And with Dismember and access to a basic land and turn 1 Amulet seems pretty good to me, so I'm going to keep it. Again, this is another one of those awkwardly slow draws, but, you know, whatever. Oh, there's a Dryad. That fixes basically everything. We can even Vesuva our opponent's basic force here to get an additional way to play around Blood Moon. Question is, are we dismembering this Arbor Elf immediately or not? We can ignore the Arbor Elf, fetch for basic force, play Amulet. We could also just straight up play Vesuva Copying Forest, but then we don't get to fetch, so... No, I guess we do actually need to dismember the elf now. So we can fetch a basic forest, dismember. Next turn, play Amulet, Vesuva Copying Forest. I like that. It's a little awkward if our opponent ends up having Magus of the Moon or something like that, but barring that, this should be good. And if our opponent does have Magus, well, by the time they get it into play, we'll already have 2 basics in play, so... Yep, and our opponent just passes it back. That's great. And we even found a Dismember here. Do we hold this up, or do we play Amulet? I think we play Amulet. Our opponent can abrade this if they like. We don't care that much. We pass it back. What's our opponent got? See the Blood Moon. Ooh, Arbor Elf. No third land. Wow. I guess you could say that our Dismember on turn 1 was super effective. Alright, let's get a... Actually, let's hold on to the Tolari West in case we need to transmute it for something. Let's go Garenbrig, Dryad, Sunhome. I'm still not sure that we Dismember here. I think we'd rather, at this point, play around a Magus of the Moon. Next turn, we can, if we draw a Titan, go ahead and cast it off of activating Garenbrig and using Tolari West as land for turn. If we don't, then we can transmute Tolari West for Summoner's Pact and play Valakut as a land, and then play Titan the turn after, so... I'm just going to pass it back. You can have a 3-drop this turn, or 4-drop, I suppose, if they do have the land. Maybe it's not a big deal. Couldn't have stopped them from playing Blood Moon or something like that this turn anyway, so probably not dismembering the elf was fine. I suppose there's some amount of argument to transmuting for a basic forest. Pillage Amulet. Sure. I mean, that's great. Of course, we immediately find the bounce land. Alright, well, let's transmute for Summoner's Pact. Let's play the Valakut as a land. And the Growth Chamber, and pick up, I guess, the Valakut. Don't see a reason why not. And, might as well start for 2. Get a couple points in while we can. Pass it back. We're looking pretty golden here. We can activate Garenbrig. Get Crumbling Vestige. I guess it depends on if we draw an untapped land source. If we draw an untapped land source here, then we can actually haste our Titan as well. Bloodbraid Elf. Not super afraid of that one. Okay, no Blood Moon, please. They reveal Arbor Elf. Alright, we're good to go. The last thing we would like off the top here is a untapped land source. So untapped land or bounce land off the top does it to you. Okay, yeah, we don't care about this. Alright, untapped land source or bounce land off the top. Let's go! There's a bounce land. Let's see, so we activate Garenbrig. Bounce land can pick up our Stronghold, and then we can play Stronghold as second land for turn. So yeah, we definitely have the Titan and haste here. I think our opponent is probably dead. Alright, Titan. Cast. We probably have them dead by just getting Valakuts here, but I'm gonna, of course, attack. What do you take me for? We want Crumbling Vestige to float a white or red and Slayer Stronghold. White. Float a red. Land number 1 for the turn. Pick up Stronghold. Land number 2 for the turn. Activate Stronghold. Go to combat. Attack, get double Valakut. Easy peasy. This is 12 damage from the 4 triggers we're about to get. So our opponent is definitely just dead if we point everything up at them. Save targets. Upstairs. Our opponent can seize the game. Well, look at that. Just no thought to it. We're just 100% destroying our red-green Ponza Blood Moon opponent. Had everything covered. Wow. that was very solid, I will say. Anyways, clearly no mistakes were made. No improvements could possibly have been made. So if you're leaving a comment right now saying we should absolutely be sighting in all 4 explosives and absolutely should be keeping all 4 amulets in, you're just wrong. I mean, let's be honest. This one match with a very small sample size just proves that. That's all I can say. So anyways, hopefully you enjoyed that match, because I know I certainly did. I mean, who doesn't enjoy a very sound stomping of a red-green Ponza opponent when your deck usually would just fold to red-green Ponza? And yeah, I will see you guys for the next match. This is Red Face Menace, signing off.